world of content creation and social media, I saw where it was going. Me taking such a huge risk forces you to look at life like an experiment. I think it's a difference between an artist and a creative. You can't have that level of strategic planning just off of vibes. That's the season I'm in right now. I'm stepping everything up.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Closing Podcast. I'm your host, Chloe Clark, and joining us today, we've got DonYé Taylor.
Hello.
Creative director, CEO, and entrepreneur. Welcome to the podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited. I don't even like doing podcasts, but I was like, her setup looked nice, and I was right.
We come correct over here,
nice
okay?
Here. Yes.
Well, thank you for pulling up. I'm glad I can be one of the only or few podcasts that you pop out to. I know that you are Miss Booked and Busy. You wear a lot of hats. You've got quite the resume. So we will definitely dive into it all. But on this podcast, I love to take it back to your roots. I know for you, that's PG County. So set the scene for us. What were you like as a kid? Were you always creative?
I was always creative. I didn't grow up with a lot of creative people around me per se. My aunt she retired as an assistant principal. My uncle retired as an auditor. So I had a lot of structure and stability within my life growing up as a child. And I think that's probably what led to me being so creative. I think when you think about like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid, creativity kind of sits at the top of that pyramid. So if you are thinking about what you're going to eat today, which clothes you're going to put on your back, it's hard to think about things that you can create. So I think the stability that I had in my early childhood allowed for that. And also, I went to public schools, okay? I did not go to private school. And public schools, they didn't really have a lot of outlets for different creative kids. So I always had to go to the internet, like Myspace, LimeWire, Tumblr. I was very talkative as a kid. Like, I remember getting my report card back. That was always the comment, like, DonYe is really smart, but it's hard for her to stay on task because as soon as she comes into the class, she got to walk around and say hi to everybody. So that's always been something that has been a part of me, and just being expressive. And yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to be able to navigate my childhood in such a creative way that has led me to where I am now. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. You talk about MySpace and LimeWire. I did read that you created MySpace pages at 13, burning CDs. So you were quite the OG it girl. But did those early experiences, did that teach you about creative autonomy in a way? Or at that time were you just like, hey, this is something I enjoyed, this is something that I love?
Oh, I definitely think it showed me creative autonomy, because I say all the time, you have to create the work that you want to get hired for. So when I'm making MySpace pages, I'm doing it for me first. So I think once people saw what I was doing for myself and they wanted to get like a piece of it, it kind of taught me that, okay, my taste is something that is a service. And I think because I've always created for me first, that has always given me a sense of autonomy, because people want what I naturally do instead of vice versa. But I never really thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I guess yes, to answer your question.
But it's also interesting because I learned that you studied healthcare management at
Yes,
Towson University. So
I did.
What was that balance from like the left side of the brain versus your creative instincts?
So I studied healthcare management because my grandmother, before I moved to PG County, I lived with my grandmother in Virginia. My grandfather and my grandmother took care of me. My grandmother had a stroke, and it drastically affected her health, and she suffered from Alzheimer's and dementia, which is why I ended up having to live with my aunt and my uncle. So throughout my early childhood, like from middle school all the way up until my freshman year of college when she passed, I witnessed her transitioning from nursing home to nursing home. I hated everything about nursing homes. I'd be like, Grandma, why are you in here? Like, why they got you in here? Like, I hated how it smelled. I hated the uniforms. I hated everything about the nursing home industry. And when I got to college, I was there for orientation. I remember I got a call that she had passed away, and that is what informed me to major in healthcare management. My dream was to open up a nursing home for her, for people like her, and families to be able to put their loved ones in a place where they could feel safe. And I think now, even just going back to that, it makes me realize how much even like my brand today is so rooted in my personal story. Like I do believe that, using your mind to think outside the box and constantly ideating and being in a space of creativity, there is science and data now that shows that doing those things can help prevent that. So that's how that's why I majored in healthcare management. But my right side was more so activated when I went to this sneaker release. I wanted the Rihanna sneakers. They were like the really thick soles.
Yes, yeah.
And I was in Baltimore. I went to Towson. So I'm at this event, and I'm in line for the sneakers, and this woman walks up to me, and then she just starts talking to me about my outfit. And the next thing you know, she's like, "Oh, I'm the director of marketing at Shoe City. Do you want to come into the office for a tour, yada, yada, yada?" I'm like, oh, okay. So I go. I'm a sophomore in college at the time. And she invites me in, and she just starts asking me questions like, what are you into? What do you think about our website? Da, 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 da. And she offered me a job on the spot. And that was in 2015, and that was my first ever marketing job. Before then, I was working at the scholarship office. I was working at the lost and found desk at the student center. Anything that was going to get my bills paid that was low effort, I was going to do it. So this was my first ever job, and I changed my entire schedule in the middle of the year to accommodate this job. So 9 to 5, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays class from 9 to 3. So I didn't really have a college career, but it's okay because it paid off.
Exactly.
So,
a real hustler.
A real hustler.
Through.
Through.
I will say that first job that you had, you also had gotten fired from.
Yes, I did get fired.
That becomes a part of your story, right?
Yes.
And so how did that moment teach you about not necessarily work, but more so like the entrepreneurial mindset?
It taught me that just because you are talented, that does not justify bad behavior. And I didn't know a lot about corporate politics because this was my first job. I'm in college, and the people I work with, they got families, they got houses, they got kids. Like, I'm thinking like, oh, let's just post this picture. And they're like, no, my life is attached to this.
On this, yeah.
So I felt like that job is kind of what taught me like how to have good business acumen and be able to communicate with people in a way that's conducive for the overall components of the business instead of just doing what it is that I think is cool. So now in my entrepreneurship life where I am delegating, I have a team, I have people that work for me, I'm able to spot different character traits and be like, okay, this girl is extremely talented, but she just needs to be guided in a certain way. And I didn't really have any mentors. Like my boss, Nicole, if you're watching this, shout out to you because you really whipped me into shape. Like, you know how people say, oh, women nowadays run a tight ship? Back then, I don't think anybody ran a tighter ship than Nicole. So thank you,
Shout out,
Nicole, if you're watching this. But you didn't do a good job at mentoring me. You ain't never called me in your office and try to sit me down and really have a conversation with me to say, this is why you should not do these things. Or if you continue to do this, this is the consequences of it. So now with me as an entrepreneur and as a woman and my entire team being women, it's really important for me to communicate in a way that helps them grow as individuals, but also places a boundary and reminds them that this is a professional setting. Deadlines matter, tone matter, how you communicate your ideas, all of those things matter. And just because you're talented does not mean that you can slack on those areas. So that's what that job taught me in getting fired, yeah.
I love that because you do need those learning lessons. You do need that discipline.
Yes.
And I will say, on top of being an entrepreneur, that's a word that was coined in the 18th century, meaning bearer of risk. And
Ooh,
so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was doing some research. And
Okay.
I was like, your personal journey beyond just like the work side of it. I know that you took a risk in moving to LA in 2019. So why the move? Were you scared at all to take that risk?
Okay, me moving to LA, that was extremely random. I had a creative agency at the time, and I got a DM from the CEO of Ethica. They make underwear. He DM'd me and was like, hey, like, I like your work. I want to fly you out here to have a meeting, yada, yada, yada. So the only reason why I had said yes to this meeting is because a client of mine at the time was also an ambassador for Ethica. So it was a mutual relationship, and I knew that they had discussed me and my client at the time told him how much they liked working with me. So I put two and two together, and I'm like, okay. So this was in Orange County.
Okay.
So I go to Orange County, and I meet with him, and the same thing from college. He want to hire me on the spot. I'm like, what is it with people trying to hire me on the spot?
That's a good sign. That's a good thing.
It is a good sign. So I'm living at home right now because I'm like, I don't have a clear path of where I want to go, and there's not anything that's like pulling me out of the situation. So I'm going to stay here until something calls me to do something different. And that flight was that call. He offered me a job on the spot to run their collaborations, and I did. I was there for 2 years, but instead of me getting fired this time, I actually quit. I actually left. It was a workplace that I don't think was safe for a woman. It was a bit misogynistic in a way, and I think a lot of companies that are really male-oriented and dominated too. Like, I'm working with football players, I'm working with music artists, I'm working with a lot of men who are very stuck in their ways, and their ways have gotten them their success. And a lot of times, they don't respect women unless they are doing a womanly job, like being an assistant or cleaning, and it's like, no, I'm running these collaborations. I'm worried about the money. I'm worried about contracts. So it was an environment where I felt like my natural instincts were being tested. And any environment that makes me feel like that, I have to go, because my instincts makes up who I am. So yeah, I left, and that's when I started Taylor Consulting. And the rest is really history. Yeah.
Yes. And to that note of growth and just spreading your wings in a sense, I know in 2022 you posted a video that said, we're all seeds, and sometimes you're just not in the right soil to grow. And you said that Maryland, your hometown, was not the right soil. So how do you know when it's time to uproot in that sense?
That's a great question. And I forgot all about that video. I know exactly where I was at when I did that video. So I just bought a plant from Silver Lake Flea 2 weeks ago, and I forgot the name of the plant. I just liked how it looked. She looked so pretty. She's pink, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna put it in my office. I'm gonna put it in the sun,
Right?
And I'm going to give it water, because this is what you're supposed to do to a plant, and she's gonna grow. 2 days later, she's like, and I'm like, oh my God, she's dying. So I took a picture, put it in ChatGPT. I'm like, what is wrong with my plant? And it gave me a rundown on my plant. It told me that my plant actually likes humidity. She does not like a direct sunlight. And I'm supposed to water her like every 2 or 3 days. So I think sometimes we think that, oh, if you just put them in the sun, give them water, they're going to grow. Everybody is encoded differently, and it's up to you to kind of figure out what things are going to make you grow. And you do that by data. You do it by patterns. So if you are doing the same things over and over and you're not getting the results that you want, maybe you're shrinking, your leaves are shriveling up, you're not growing, that may be time for you to look at some things with a magnifying glass and be like, wait, am I getting too much sunlight? Am I being around too many people? Am I with the wrong crowd? Am I at the wrong job? Like, you start asking yourself these questions, and then you start to make little minor adjustments in your life to see if that's going to affect something. And if it does, in a positive way, pour more into that. Lean more into that. The things that do not make you feel good, the things that are making you question your instincts, question yourself, all of those things are detrimental to your success and your growth. But it's really up to you as a person to be self-aware and to keep inventory of what you're putting in and what is coming out of what you're putting in, to say, okay, let me cut this, add more here, and do that. It's like life, there really is no finish line, because what worked for me 2 years ago may not work for me right now. That's why you always gotta stay tapped in with yourself and never get lost in what it is that you're trying to chase.
Well, your instincts have proven success thus far, even after you up and left Maryland to come to LA and started your own consulting agency. You received a Forbes 30 Under 30 distinction in 2023. So did that give you any sort of validation?
Oh, 100%. I remember the day that I got the email that I got it. First of all, I submitted my application for Forbes while I was on a beach with my friend, and I was rushing to do it because I thought I missed the deadline, but because of the time zone, I was like, all right, I still got a little bit more time. And they were asking me so many questions and that I felt like did not apply to me and were not going to help me with my application. They asked about like revenue, and some of those questions like 1 million to 5. I'm like, damn, I'm not a millionaire yet. Yeah. But I was just honest. I was very honest with everything, and I was just like, you know what? If this is for me, then it's for me. If someone sees the work that I'm doing enough to want to nominate me, then who am I to like shrink myself or like second guess myself and not even apply? I almost didn't even apply. Wow. So when I got it, I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck? Because not only did that come from me taking such a huge risk, like I had my creative agency with my ex at the time. So for me to leave that creative agency, it meant me leaving their relationship. Right. I was really putting all the chips on me. So to get an honor like that from betting on yourself, it gave me the confidence to be like, you know what, I should bet on myself more. So I think getting Forbes, while it is a nice, shiny thing to have on my resume, it's not the only thing that matters to me. And it's so crazy because right after I got that, I was like, you know what, I don't even want to consult no more. I want to consult for myself. I want to take all of the things that I was doing for everybody else that even got me here and put it into me. If that got me this, imagine what I can get from giving what I gave to everybody else to me. And that's what kind of really started that next chapter, which now is Nuclei and Mentally I'm Here and DonYe as a personal brand. So I'm so excited.
Totally. And we'll definitely dive deeper into Nuclei and all about your brand. But of course, as you mentioned, that Forbes recognition doesn't just happen. It speaks to how you think, it speaks to how you create. And I know a lot of your work leans on that intersection of art and psychology. Mm-hmm. So let's unpack that a little bit. What do you think happens, or what do you think is happening scientifically when we create?
Ooh, it's so many different things. I know for me, like, I don't know how to not make anything not an art project. Like, even my makeup today, I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna try a little something different. I like mix my concealer with my blush because I saw that that's just really good for how you show up on camera. But I think being in a constant state of creativity, it forces you to look at life like an experiment. And like I was saying earlier about data, it's like there's no way you can get new data if you don't do new things. If you're doing the same things over and over again, you're gonna get the same results. So I think being in a constant state of creative expression, it forces me to be more present in my life and be more present with myself. There's certain things that I do, like DJing. I'm teaching myself how to DJ right now. I feel so happy when I'm doing that. And being in a constant state of creative expression, it like pushes my bar for satisfaction up higher because it's like, no, I know how I feel when I'm genuinely happy. I know how I feel when I'm safe. I know what that feeling is like because I'm doing it all the time. So if there's anything that makes me feel the opposite of that, where I feel uncomfortable, I can immediately know and I can take myself out of that situation. So I think creativity also makes you more confident with your own decisions, and it teaches you how to trust your own instincts. And yeah, I feel like with all this AI stuff, we need that more. We need the human ideation side of life way more because yes, AI is a tool, but I look at it like a calculator. Like, you can have the formula, but if you don't know what inputs you're putting in, you may get the wrong answer. So it's like, regardless, we still need the art of coming up with our own ideas and thinking for ourselves, regardless of how much AI is surrounding us right now.
Yeah, AI is getting out of hand.
It's crazy. It's crazy. My assistant Naomi just sent me a TikTok yesterday, and there's this app that turns your text messages into gospel songs. It's so hilarious. And I'm like, wait a second. This is kind of killing the environment, but it's funny.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's so much, and it's changing so rapidly every single day.
Well, you talk about that intuition and also, of course, data and going on that science theme, experimenting and coming up with different hypotheses, I know that you often come up with different terminology, one of them being intuitive dissonance syndrome. So could you break that down?
Ooh, okay. So the reason why I come up with so many different terms is because I need a label to put on things in order for it to make sense. Like if my head was not attached to my body, it would probably still be in the Uber. I probably would have left it in the Uber. So giving things names and terminology, it allows me to make sense of things that I'm feeling. And if you think about it, what we're doing now was not a thing 20 years ago. And if you look at time, 20 years is like a little tiny dot. So I think about different terminologies that I can create to help me make sense of what it is that I'm experiencing, but also give creatives a way for them to kind of make sense of the things that they're feeling. I love when I get messages like, you know what, I never had a word for that until now. And that just makes me want to keep going and makes me want to keep making up these terms, no matter how crazy they sound. Like I came up with this thing called the TIC formula where I created for myself because I'm like, all right, DonYe, you have all of these ideas. You can't execute every single idea. So TIC stands for time, impact, and cost, and it's how you put your ideas next to each other. So if you have an idea that's going to take a lot of time, but the impact may be really low, meaning that it's probably not going to do anything for your network, for your career, for your revenue, and it's going to cost a lot, that may be an idea that you got to put on the back burner until you get a little bit more money or you have a little bit more time. So once I created that, and it helped me be like, you know what, I am going to do Nuclei right now because I got so many ideas. I want to do DJing too, but it takes a lot of time and the impact is very low because you can't book me as a DJ, and it's a bit expensive too because that equipment. So I'm like, I'm going to wait until I have all of my ducks in a row before I go back to that, and it just keeps me sane, and I can't wait for me to stumble through life a little bit more so I have more things to share and more formulas and more terminologies to share with my audience. So yeah.
Diving a little bit more about those natural instincts, but also going up against external noise, do you think we're seeing that more prevalent than ever in a generation that seems to be hyper aware about perception?
100%. I'm rocking because I'm like, that's the bane of my existence. Like, one side of me, I don't care. I don't. But then the other side does care because being myself is the business. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to navigate and to set up boundaries where you can say, okay, when it comes to this part of my life, who cares? But when it comes to this, I actually do care. And I posted a picture yesterday, and my caption was, if this chapter in my book is called Just Vibe Twin, because the overthinking, it gets to a point, and that business brain is hard to turn off. And I'm realizing that I have to turn it off, or else I'm going to just be like everybody else. And I can't be like everybody else, and my whole brand is like not being like everybody else. So it's like a never-ending cycle, but I think that the best way that creatives can kind of protect that challenge of like fighting yourself and how you're perceived is to have an anchor outside of social media. I talk to my parents almost every single day. I called my grandfather today just to ask him how he was doing, and I really enjoy the small joys of life. The small things are what makes a life, and it makes you zoom out and be like, you know what? None of this stuff really matters in the grand scheme of things. It matters right now, but in the grand scheme of things, what matters is how you show up for yourself, how you show up for the people you love, and making sure that your moral compass is always set to north. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, you definitely have to be grounded in that sense, like
100%.
you said, with social media and just all the other external factors
Yes.
of life, because there is a lot of those. But to your point about not blending in with other people, right? I know that a lot of people may tend to focus on how things look versus how things feel. And I know that you've written Substacks about, no aesthetic is the new aesthetic, and it's actually a depreciating asset. So could you dive deeper into what that means to you?
So I low-key got it from my boyfriend because he has this saying where he says the new swag is no swag. And he said it about clothes, this is maybe about a year ago, And I feel him. And like Kanye West has this line where he says, I forgot what song it is, but he says, how I'm supposed to stand out when everybody get dressed up. And it's like, damn, how are you supposed to stand out when everybody gets dressed up? You have to go the other way. And I think that is really what we're experiencing right now. It's like you could go to H&M and get a YSL dupe jacket for what, like maybe $100, and the YSL jacket is like $5,000, $6,000. I don't know how much it costs because that's not in my budget right now, okay? But I know that it's expensive, and I've seen dupes all over the place, and it's like, wow, everybody can look like someone else regardless. And there used to be this world where certain aesthetics and certain things were reserved for a certain class of people, but what creativity is doing in social media is democratizing these different tiers. Like, it's almost is no tier, and people that are at the top are trying to look like they're at the bottom. And I remember I saw this video of Kim Kardashian it was like a vlog of her preparing to take the bar, and I'm like, this is so lo-fi. And she could have a camera crew just like this to film her process. She's like, no, I wanted to feel like I shot it with my iPhone because I want to feel more relatable. And I think that is really the luxury right now, being able to connect with someone through the screen and to say, hey, I'm just like you. That's more so what I meant by the aesthetic being no aesthetic. It's like your aesthetic shows you it shows other people how you want to come off physically, but I think the other part of it is connecting emotionally and mentally. Sometimes clothes can't do that. Sometimes your hair ain't gonna do that. Like, it's more so about what it is that you're saying in your stories, your captions, and the way you're connecting to people in a deeper relationship means more than how you look.
You brought up the word luxury and your answer there, and I know in a previous post of yours, you talked about how the new luxury is the way that you think. And so how do you train that muscle, being the brain?
Ooh, I do a lot of things. I have this series I'm doing on my TikTok right now called Things I Do to Keep My Brain Sexy. And it's just kind of showing all the little tiny nuanced things that have nothing to do with work, nothing to do with entrepreneurship. It's just daily practices that I do. So I love to free write. Love, love, love to free write. Like raw dogging free write. Like on my phone. Actually, let me get my book and just literally, like, I try to keep the period of when I'm thinking about something very, very short because, again, that trains my instincts. And I think with entrepreneurship in this day and age, you have to make decisions very, very fast. So sitting in front of your notebook and think about, what am I going to write for 15 minutes? Like, no. So I try to train my brain to be active and ripe at all times. So free writing is how I do that. I love teaching myself how to do new things. So last year, my boyfriend came back from tour. He had mentioned that he wanted locks, and I already did his hair, but I taught myself how to do his hair. So I was like, okay, my man want locks. Let me get on TikTok and see how to start locks. So I started his locks. I retwist them. I style them. I do everything. And I like to research things that naturally interest me. So I love Thai food. Love Thai food. I love a mango sticky rice. I love a tom yum. Oh my gosh, so one day I was eating Thai food and I just opened up my phone. I was on Gemini. I actually prefer Gemini over ChatGPT when it comes to information because it's from Google. So I went to Gemini and I was like, can you give me 10 facts that I may not know about the Thai culture? And it just started talking about their philosophies, and I learned that their language is a mono. I think it's wait, hold on, let me double check. I think it's called a mono language. No, tonal.
Okay.
Tonal language. Thai is a tonal language, meaning that you can say a word like door, and it means door. But if you say it in a different tone, like door, it can have a completely separate meaning. And I thought that was just so cool because I'm like, wow, like imagine learning Thai. But that's just what I do. I just research things that I'm naturally interested in. And I love combining two worlds together. Like that's how we got this candle. Yeah. It's like, okay, I love the senses and I love candles, but I also love matcha. So what would it look like if I made a candle that looks and smells like matcha? So everything really goes together, and you just have to be in a constant state of wonder, curiosity. Somebody wrote something on my Instagram the other day, and they were saying how they feel like so many things are gate kept. And I'm like, I think it's very ironic that we experience more gatekeeping now, but we're in this information age. So my response was, are things being gatekept, or are you just not letting your curiosity sit with you enough to the point where you actually want to go and research? Because you can find out anything if you really want to. So it's a lot there, but I try to just lead with what excites me and what makes me feel good and what makes me feel like a little girl.
Exactly, that childlike wonder that you speak about. And I feel like, so Albert Einstein, he's famously quoted to say, I have no special talents, I'm just passionately curious. And I feel like you embody that perfectly. You talk about just that curiosity and looking up, researching, experimenting, whatever. How do you keep that state of openness or that beginner's mind even as you evolve and get older?
Oh, you know, I try not to have fear. It's almost impossible to live life without it. You almost kind of need fear, but fear to the point where it prevents you from doing something or it cripples you. That I try not to believe in. And I think that is what keeps me always on the edge of like, ooh, what's that over there? What's that over there? And also just telling myself that there is no capacity to what I can hold, you know? Like sometimes I'm on my phone, I'm taking a picture, and I'm like, I'm just going. It's like, your iPhone is out of storage. Once you see that message enough times, you start to become more cognizant of like the photos that you're taking. Like, oh, let me not take too many. And I try to train myself to think that I am like an iPhone with infinite storage. Like, I will never have a message pop up in my mind that says you're out of storage. And I don't want to be that message to myself. I don't want to tell myself that I'm out of storage. So I always try to remind myself that I have infinite capacity. I have infinite things that I can hold if it makes me happy and if I'm genuinely curious about it. And that is just what keeps me going. I discovered a new YouTube channel the other day. It's called Shy Space, and their DJs are incredible. Like some of the best mixes I have ever heard. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, I feel like I just discovered a new restaurant or like a new clothing store. And this was completely free. It's not taking away from any storage in my mind. It's actually adding on to it. So that's how I always just approach anything that I'm about to consume new. And yeah, I love it here. I love it here.
As you should. And so, speaking about adding on to things, right? If we're thinking about the childlike mind and that being like our foundation, I know you have talked about your philosophy of there being another level to that level 2. So, could you describe how it is to unlock level 2 and what that is?
So level 2, this was my first ever newsletter that I posted that made me be like, okay, I think there's something here, because the way that spread, oh my goodness. So I came up with level 2 when I was thinking of Nuclei. At first, I wanted to do a tank top, and it was going to have level 2 written on it, because that was like what I was telling myself. I was like, everything that I was thinking that I was going to do for this brand, I thought I was going to sell clothes. I thought I was going to sell like ebooks. And I'm like, wait a second, that is so level 1. Like, that's so basic. Like, anybody can sell clothes. Anybody can do this. So I was like living with this concept of level 2 and like documenting how I got there. And I'm so happy that I didn't do those tank tops. And I pushed myself. So level 2 is just, it's a philosophy to encompass like, all right, if something comes to you super easy, that's probably not the best thing for you to do. Like level 2 is when you can go beyond that and say, actually, no, I want something more. I want to do something different. I want to do this outside the box. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a product. It can be anything. Maybe it's an outfit. It's like, like even today, I was like, you know what? I've never worn these shoes, but I think this would go good with this outfit. And the shoes that I was gonna wear, I told my boyfriend, I'm like, this is a level 1 outfit. I need to take it up to level 2 because that's the season I'm in right now. I'm stepping everything up. I got a new nail shape. I'm like just trying stuff, just doing stuff, wearing my real hair. So that's really what level 2 is. It's like pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone to know that there is another level. And once you see that other level, you can't go backwards. So it's just being in a constant state of evolving, in a constant state of growing and pushing yourself.
I think about the word visionary, and that is often tied to having foresight and having that sort of imagination. But what do you think, what separates someone from following trends to someone who may see them coming and push the envelope?
I think when you follow a trend, it's very safe. It's easy to look at something that's already working and say, okay, I can do that. Are trends good for inspiration? Absolutely. Do I love TikTok dances and songs that are trending on TikTok? Absolutely. I love trim. I love sexy red. I love all of that trendy stuff.
Yes.
I feel like it charges my black girl chakras, and we need those. But when you think about legacy and you think about what you want to leave behind and you think about what you want to be remembered for, if you are always doing a trend, you're always going to be in somebody else's shadow because you are attaching yourself to what someone else has already done or what someone else is already doing. If you want to be a legacy person, if you want to go down in history, if you want to be remembered as innovative, you can't do that. And it's a bit harder. It is a bit harder, but it's also level 2. So I don't really get caught up in like what's trendy. Do I see it? Absolutely. But it doesn't really inform or guide the decisions that I make. And trends can change. Like, especially now, like with Nuclei, products take me a long time to make. Like this candle was supposed to come out in November. Wow. But when I got the shipment, they were the wrong color. Like it was light green. And I'm like, this is not what I agreed to. If I got a matcha that was this color, I would think that y'all were using something fake, like not ceremonial. So working in product and being an entrepreneur now and seeing how long things take, it's like, okay, yeah, that's trending right now, but let me know how it's going in a year from now. Not even a year and a half. Like my brain bank took me so long to make. So when you really look at time from a zoomed out perspective, you don't really care about trends like that. It's like, oh, that's cute for now, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, trends, we see it all the time. It's so easy now more than ever, social media, it's so easy to bite someone else's flow.
Yes.
And that speaks to a larger discussion about adding noise versus making noise. And a lot of the times people say how saturation is killing originality, especially within the creator landscape. So what is your take on oversaturated industry being the creative industry?
It's so crazy because it's like on one end, I'm like, damn, I've been doing this all my life. Now everybody want to do it now. It's almost like when I was a kid, I used to love going into like little pockets on recess to have my me time. But then somebody be like, oh, DonYe over here. Everybody come over here. Let's play. It's like, no, this was sacred. And I liked it because I was the only one here. So I feel like with the oversaturation of creativity, I love that for people that they are experiencing that they have this side to them that adds this childlike wonder and it connects them back to themselves. But from me, creativity is not just a hobby for me anymore. It's the way that I sustain my life, it's the way that I sustain my business. So it definitely has required me to get offline a bit more and to not consume so much because it's really hard to tell who's doing this because they genuinely love it versus who's doing it for a trend. So creativity is the trending thing now. Everybody wants to be a creative, and I will never stop someone from trying to express themselves. That actually goes against my entire mission, but I do feel that, we do need some type of I don't want to say legislature, but there's no, it's nothing in the First Amendment that says you can't steal from someone. And recently I saw my friend Tatiana, there was like a huge thing on AI. This white woman took her picture. She took a picture at the U.S. Open in Miami last year. Yes, and this white woman took her picture and then put her face over top of it. Crazy. And it's like, that is not okay. It's like, yes, we know the content creation space is saturated. Yes. If you want to do a trend that somebody else did, okay. But don't take somebody's face off and replace it with yours. That's not okay. And that's when it becomes to be like, all right, now we got to draw a line in the sand because y'all are taking this way far what we even imagine. And back to what I was saying, like that's not okay. So I do think that there should be some type of like guideline set in place. And the unfortunate thing is all of this stuff is new, so we're experiencing it in real time. But that, I would say, is my one take. I don't think stealing from anybody is ever okay, especially once you get into race and demographics and all of that. So post what you want to post. If you get something from somebody, credit them. Don't put your face on somebody else's body. That's my stance.
I did see a post recently that talked about how saturation doesn't really cancel out success because a million people can be doing the same thing. But if you bring authenticity and if you bring impact, then there is room for you to win. Mm-hmm. I will say, on top of what you said about creatives and them becoming more popularized, I do feel like even the word or role creative director has been just like thrown around so much more in the past 5-10 years. Virgil Abloh, he actually was said, creative director is a catch-all phrase for giving ideas. To me, it means more than that. How would you define creative?
Ooh. Well, I think it's a difference between an artist and a creative. I think an artist is someone that makes things to serve themselves. I am reaching a point in my career where I identify more on the artist spectrum than I do the creative. I think a creative is someone that factors in other people. So a creative director, say creative directing for your podcast, you are taking into consideration what is going to do well, what is going to be received well, what is the best story. You're factoring in KPIs and elements and things that are existing outside of you. An artist doesn't really think about those things. They just think about what can they make that is going to be the most direct and clear reflection of who they are in that moment and what it is that they're feeling. So I think that's how I would define a creative. It's like they take more into consideration other people than themselves.
And so I feel like also creatives, most of your guys' main goal is to create sustainable and timeless art. But again, with social media, it can be difficult going up against feeding algorithms and, like we said, trends. So how do you balance creating sustainable art versus feeding the algorithm?
These are such good questions. I don't balance it well at all, actually. I go through periods where I don't want to post anything. I don't want to say anything. Even though I have things to say, I just don't feel comfortable with it because I don't know who I'm doing it for. It's like, damn, am I really posting because I haven't been posting for a minute? Or am I posting because I really want to post? And it's like, I remember what it felt like to get home from school and to go to the computer room and log on to the computer and upload something and go downstairs for dinner. And you're not even thinking about who commented, who liked it. You just like, I really want to share this. So because I can distinguish between those two feelings, sometimes my relationship with doing that is a bit complicated. So I don't say that I balance it that well. I'm trying to find a balance. I recently just created a burner account.
Okay.
And for so long, I said that I would never create a burner account. I was so anti-burner accounts. But now I'm like, actually, you know what? Hell yeah, because I do want to post a random picture and not have any context or any expectation, just because I really like it. So I would say maybe that's how I'm balancing it a little bit. On one hand, I'm not really balancing it. I kind of live in this gray area with a lot of things. I'm like, on one hand, I'm this, on the other hand, I'm that. But I would say that's my answer. Like, that's how I'm balancing it. By not balancing it and with my burner account.
I love that. At least you're
Yeah.
real about it.
At least I'm real. At least I'm real, yeah.
But sometimes when we think about sustainability, oftentimes our brain can go directly to profit and like how much money this job or this career is going to make us. And I know that you've been vocal about before how creative wealth is just as important as financial wealth. So could you describe what creative wealth looks like in practice?
Being creatively wealthy means that you have enough confidence within yourself to go after the things that you want in life. That could be a business idea. It may be going to a new restaurant for dinner. I think being really creatively wealthy allows you to make better decisions. And I think with better decisions, it comes money. It comes better opportunities. I've had jobs before where I was making a lot of money, but I was not happy. And the money that I made from that job has already been spent. But it took me so long for me to get my spark back after I left that job. And that is why I say sometimes creative wealth is more important than financial wealth, because if you are not secure with who you are as a person, if you're not secure with the ideas that you have, you don't even know how to tell that you like this something versus someone else telling you that you liked it. You can go your entire life living a life that isn't yours, and then you wake up and you're like, wait a second, what the fuck was I doing? So that is what creative wealth looks like. It's like always being in control of your decisions, your patterns, what it is that you like, and really guiding your life to the place that you want it to go instead of letting everybody else or everything else guide you. And it's something that it took me a minute to realize, because I used to be going after what looked good on paper, what looked good on my resume, what looked good in my bank account. But now I'm at a place where I'm like, oh, okay, if DonYe is happy, DonYe can get whatever it is that she wants. When DonYe is confident, she can go after jobs. She can go after things. There is an abundance of opportunities because DonYe feels good with herself. There's no real abundance if I am not okay with myself. So that is basically what that statement means. It's just a reflection of the life I've lived and the way that I look at curating my life.
And I mean, speaking about stability and personal security, I know that you tweeted in 2023, my livelihood depends on creativity, therefore I can't risk being uninspired. So how do you still protect that inspiration, what you draw and pull from?
I pull from everything. Like, I love food. I love music. I love all the elements of being a girl. The beauty world is the most fascinating thing to me. Music is fascinating to me. I'm so inspired by things that are everywhere. I don't really get inspired by little tiny things because I feel like the inspiration is very small. I like getting inspired by things that make me look at myself or make me question something about the world that I've never really thought of before. I get inspired by clothes. I love clothes. I love looking at the way people use clothes to express themselves. Traveling, I would say, is my number one form of inspiration. I love traveling to places that make me feel like I'm in a different world or I'm on a different planet. I just came back from Marrakesh about a month ago, and that trip was incredible. I loved it so much. It's so weird because it's like you're in Africa, but there's elements of like the Middle East there, and they speak Arabic, and it's like, and sometimes you feel like you're in Miami because of the palm trees and the nightlife, and it's like, wait a second, this is a lot going on, but I like it. So I love being in places and experiencing things where it's a lot going on, but it's controlled, because I feel like that is me, and it kind of reminds me that you don't need to be one thing to be one thing. Like, all of the different elements of who you are make up who you are, and you shouldn't try to silence one for the other. So I pull inspiration from anywhere. It's really easy for me to get inspired, but the same way it's easy for me to get inspired, it's really easy for me to be uninspired. I don't like boring conversations. I hate when people are asking me questions that are not progressing the conversation forward. Like, anything stagnant, things at a standstill, that is what uninspires me. That I'm trying to work on my patience. Dear God, he's working on me still, but my impatience, I would say, is something that definitely affects my level of inspiration. And I'm trying to get inspired by things that take a little bit longer.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working on right now. But yeah.
I mean, it's all about that stimulation and progressing forward. I actually read that one of your early inspos was Kesha, which throwback.
Oh my God, you did your research.
Girl,
Wow.
yes. And
Yes.
Kid Cudi is the
Yes.
two. So why
Yes.
those two in particular?
Kid Cudi was the first artist that I was like a fan of because I wanted to be a fan. Before him, it was Kanye West, but that was because my older sister used to play his album all the time. So I felt like I loved him because he was just around and she loved him. Kid Cudi was my first artist that I was like, you know what? I discovered him on my own. I discovered him at a very early period in his career,
Okay.
like
Before the hype.
Yes,
Yeah.
before the hype. I used to be really into like discovering mixtapes and things like that, and I liked the way that he dressed. Like I remember seeing a pair of Jordans. They were some cement threes, and I was like, you know what? I want those shoes. And like I remember being so influenced by him. He was my first ever concert that I went to, and I felt like he made music that unlocked a part of my mind to be like, oh wait, I didn't know it went back this far. I didn't even know it was a door right there. That's why I love Kid Cudi so much. And I think that he did a really good job of expressing things that I never really had words to describe how I was feeling. And he did it in such a cool way. Like most of the time when people express themselves, it's like, okay, bring out the violins, whatever. But he did it in a way I was like, damn, this shit hard. Like I'm fucking with this. Kesha, I was inspired by because I was more inspired by her ability to create a visual DNA for herself that was so distinct to the point where you have a collaboration with American Apparel. Like at that time, that was big. Even
iconic,
now,
yeah.
like now I'm thinking about it, she was the first person I ever seen do a collaboration. I didn't even know what a collaboration was. It's like, damn, you really did something for yourself that you just thought was cool and you was so adamant about it and so consistent about it. And now it's on some clothing. So she always inspired me because she, again, made me zoom out. It's like, wow, like this is, to you, it's just a pattern, but to the world, this is clothing, it's art, it's creative expression. And she was just fly. She had her own swag, she had her own style, and I loved that. I don't know what ethnicity she is, but I love that she had this ambiguous nature about her, and it was just always intriguing to me. So shout out to Kesha.
Shout out Kesha.
We miss you. We
Right.
miss
I'm like,
you.
that's a big throwback for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
But the worlds of music and art definitely intertwine. We've seen them go hand to hand for so many decades. And I know you've mentioned your boyfriend throughout this conversation. So for many who may or may not know, your boyfriend is the rapper artist Smino. So can you talk about how your two relationship, how you build and support each other's ecosystems?
That's I love him so much. He is my best friend and my biggest supporter, and I never knew that I needed someone like him as a partner until we met. And I think there's a huge level of respect that I have for him, and I think that he has for me too, where, you know, I know that he can relate to certain things that I'm going through. I know that he's been through also some things as an artist. So, and he's always reminding me and says things like, babe, ain't nobody cooler than you. You the coolest girl ever. And he always is reaffirming me, and he allows me to be myself. One of the first times that we hung out like together intimately, I was over his house, which ended up becoming our house. But he had offered me a bonnet. He was like, you want something for your head? Like, and I was like, you know what? Yes, I do. And I'm like, because at this time, he had his afro. Like, he's really big on hair care. He made these hoodies that is lined with silk to protect your hair. So even just as a black woman where you feel like you gotta always be on, your hair gotta always be done, he very early on made me feel comfortable with not always being on and being like, you know, you don't have to be at 100% for me to love you or for me to be attracted to you. And I think that has allowed me to just sit more into my femininity more, because now I feel like it's more appreciated when I do those things, but it also doesn't correlate my value as a woman to how I look. And that was like very, very early on in our relationship. He supports whatever it is that I want to do. His main goal is to eliminate as many unnecessary tabs in my mind as possible so that I can focus on what it is that I want to do. And it really is happy wife, happy life. I don't have a ring yet, but
yes, it's coming.
I'm manifesting it. I'm
Yes.
manifesting it. So yeah, I think that he has really just shown me what support looks like, and it's not just liking an Instagram photo. It's not just commenting, or it's not just financial support. It's constantly reaffirming and like rescoring my head back on and be like, hey, don't worry about what these other girls is doing. Focus on you. You got you this far, so you keep doing what it is that you want to do. He's always like putting me back on course, and I think that is the most valuable thing that a creative can have when it comes to looking for a partner. You need someone to remind you of your talents and your value, and it needs to come from someone that you respect, because if you don't respect that person, is gonna be like, whatever. But when it's someone that's doing the thing that you're trying to do, it's like, okay, let me shut up and listen and know that he's telling me the truth. So that's how I would describe our relationship. And he just keeps me young. He allows me to just be the little girl from PG County that was making burnt CDs with LimeWire. He allows me to DJ in the car, even though he wants to hear his own music. He's like, babe, you can practice here. So he just gives me room to really grow and sprout. And yeah, I feel like I don't have a storage limit with him either. So yeah.
I love that. We all need someone like that in our corners.
I'm praying for everyone to experience that.
For all the girlies, yes.
For all the girlies, yes.
That you probably know more better than anyone. House, is one of those artists who is authentic with his work, and at the same time, he's not necessarily like posting his every move.
Yes.
But he's still very much in the forefront of the music scene and going on tour soon, selling out tours, sustaining success. So how has he taught you about creating for yourself and not just the metrics?
He has taught me how to preserve myself. I think preserving is a huge skill that any creative needs to be able to know how to do, because if you don't preserve yourself, that's how you can get burnt out. You can forget why you even did it for the first place. So seeing him, not have to play this social media game and do the press runs and do all of these things to stretch yourself thin in order to get success. In order to get success, it has taught me that there is another way to get success, and you do not have to burn yourself out to do it. And we go back and forth sometimes about does this matter? Does this not matter? But in the end, we always arrive at the same place where it's like, no, what we want to do matters more than anything, and we allow each other the space to ebb and flow through both of our seasons, because I may be in a season of hypervisibility and he's in a season of being ducked off, and vice versa, and we give each other space to do that, and we understand that space is a part of the creative process. So I think it can be pretty challenging sometimes, because I'm like, wow, you don't have to do anything, but he doesn't have to do anything now because he did the work earlier. So that's another layer. It's like I am at a different place in my career than he is. I am trying to get to that point where I don't have to do as much, but I do think that there is, again, going back to seasons, understanding where you are in your season is really important, because you can't base your season based on where somebody else is in their season. They're playing a completely different game. So I really enjoy our relationship and how it inspires me to just stay tapped in with myself and watching him do his thing. Yeah.
Yes. And you also doing your thing with Nuclei. Let's dive a little bit more into building that brand. Of course, you spent so many years merging that intelligence and creative storytelling to help build other people's brands, but what pushed you to create Nuclei and your own brand?
It was time. It was time. I love being first. Like, I was the line leader in kindergarten.
Okay.
I like being first in line. I like being first to things, and I like saying, this is me. And I felt like the world of content creation and social media, I saw where it was going. And I'm like, I don't want to depend on being visible in order to make money. And when I say visible, I mean showing my home, showing how I get ready, showing things of my life that can be intimate and private for me in exchange for money, because that means I'm commodifying myself. So I saw that trend was going where it's already at right now, and I was like, you know what? I need to exit this before I get stuck in it, because once that is your job, it's kind of hard to go back to, that to a lifestyle that is not that. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to set myself up to be pigeonholed. So let me just exit now and do something that is the evolved version of me. I used to play Pokemon all the time as a child, and I think like certain Pokemon, like once you reach a certain level, they evolve into another Pokemon. They may have different moves, but regardless, it's a different Pokemon. I'm like, what is the evolved version of DonYé? It's DonYé the entrepreneur. It's DonYé the writer. It's DonYé as a product designer. It's DonYé as a creative director. Not just DonYé, the girl that has cool ideas and is doing all of these things for other people and is making cool content. So that's what really inspired me. And just thinking about the type of life I want to have for myself, like there is going to be a day where I have children, and I don't want to have to think about, all right, how are we going to strategize how I'm going to incorporate you into my content, because you are now...
You're the content.
Yes, like you are the content. I don't want to have that as my only option. So I'm just creating as many options for myself as possible so that I can have autonomy over my life and do the things that I want to do. So I feel like the product was the next level, and I think we're seeing that right now with a lot of creators that are exchanging their influence for brands, and they're kind of bowing out to be like, okay, y'all had enough of me. Like Emma Chamberlain is somebody that I really look up to. She started on YouTube. Now she has her own coffee brand. She has her own coffee store. Like, she actually has a physical brick and mortar. She just did a collaboration with West Elm where she's making her own furniture. And you don't see Emma like you used to no more. Like you may see her every now and then, red carpet, but I think, like she saw that trend early to be like, you know what, I don't think I want to be posting myself online 24/7 in order to make money. So I'm following in her footsteps, making my own, and I think a lot of creators, like if you are feeling stale about constantly creating content, you might want to think about other avenues. There's some creators, they could do that all day. And shout out to them. I love the fact that y'all are wired like that. I am not. We wired in the same way that we both like money,
right.
But I just can't. I don't want to live a life of being online 24/7. So I'd rather be packing boxes and going to the post office than posting. Yeah.
Definitely feels a lot more sustainable because, as you mentioned, that content creation life is no joke. Shout out to everyone that does it, but definitely takes a different type of stamina.
Yes, 100%.
And so can you talk about the essence of what Nuclei is for those who may be new to the brand?
Yeah. So Nuclei is a intellectual home goods brand. I made it because I don't think that people interact with things at an intellectual level. I think people see things and like, oh, like that's cute, or this looks nice, but it doesn't go beyond that. So with Nuclei, I really wanted to make products that people could sit with and stay with for a bit longer than just 2 seconds. Everything that I make under Nuclei has like a cognitive ability to it. So with my brain bank, I wanted to promote ideation, critical thinking, but also the wellness aspect of it too, of sitting down, writing things down, being present, knowing that your ideas are valuable. my calendar, it combines art with intelligence, and it gets people to look at Black history through a new lens, and it provides a new layer and a new texture of what Black history feels like. And of course, with that, there's new data, there's new information. Like the Black History calendar that I'm working on for next year is going to be women focused, and like even just thinking about how Wells Bonner became the first ever woman of color to be the creative director of a luxury fashion house. Like history is being made every single day, and just adding those little nuggets to your mind, it kind of inspires you to keep going, to be like, dang, like what history will I make as a creative? And then with this candle, it's inspired by my love for matcha, but it also touches on this concept of synesthesia, which I think is something that a lot of creatives are going to want to tap in with the next year and just how they're creating. It's basically when two senses combine. So if you smell something, it may remind you of how something tastes. And for me, even as I'm teaching myself how to DJ, I'm looking at songs as colors. Like when I hear a song, it may remind me of like a tropical color palette. So if I'm thinking about what song would go good with that next song and how I'm going to blend it, I think about what colors would go with the color that I'm already hearing. So this is just here to promote, you know, brain function, looking at life differently, but also it's like, who does not love an iced matcha? And matcha is really good for me too, just because caffeine, I will be tweaking off of caffeine. Like caffeine is a little bit too much for me, but matcha allows me to like have like a slow and steady, efficient pace where I'm able to get creative work done. It's like my treat after I finish working, I get to the finish line, and I'm like, what better way than to make a candle? Because my iced matcha may last like 2-3 minutes, depending on how good it is. But this candle can last for 40 hours. So
Love that.
yeah, so yeah.
Love a good matcha.
Love a good matcha. But yeah, that's Nuclei, and I'm in the lab right now. I have another product coming out in a couple of months. I have some products in production. I'm definitely beefing it up and turning up the temperature.
This is only the
Nuclei.
beginning.
It's only the beginning, yes.
And so I do know that you are a first-generation entrepreneur. This was you had no prior product experience.
Nothing, girl, nothing.
And so you also wrote another popular Substack about running a business is humiliating, but would you rather be broke or cringe? And I feel like so many people resonated with that, obviously, because ain't nobody trying to be broke around here.
Literally, yeah.
So can you speak to just staying 10 toes down in your vision with no experience, first time running a business, and just learning the business and technicality side of things and investing in yourself as a business owner?
It's so hard. It's so many mental obstacles. It's more about the mental obstacles than anything else. Like, I am just now getting comfortable saying, yeah, I'm DonYe, the CEO of Nuclei. Like, a year and a half ago, I would have like a hesitation to say that, even though it is mine. But it just takes a while to get comfortable with things. And as an entrepreneur, you really have to fake it until you make it. Because if you don't, you'll waste so much time overthinking, questioning yourself, even after I launched the Brain Bank. So, and it's very humbling. Like every single product, I learned something new about myself, about the world, about everything. So with my Brain Bank, the first day I sold 200 of my Brain Banks, and I was like, I'll be rich. The next day, like 8, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, wait, I have to post every single day to make money. Yeah. Wait a second, I don't think I was ready for this, because I wanted to start a business to not have to post, and now I have to do it. So it's like entrepreneurship teaches you that you cannot cheat the hustle. Like, you're going to have to work one way or another, and that work may look different depending on what it is that you consider work, but regardless, it's work. And I think having this business has shown me that you really have to show up every single day, and there's some days where I do not have 100. Maybe I have 85. But giving my 85 is still giving my 100 because I gave it my all. So entrepreneurship has really like stretched my mind into think about myself differently and how I show up, but also how to make things that people actually need and that people want to use. I think everybody, especially now with working from home, like we spend so much time in our homes, and the things that we interact with are going to have a lasting effect on the way that we think, what we do. And it's like, what better business than to have a business that makes your home more cool, more creative, more intellectual, and it's a representation of me. So I'm learning myself and I'm growing as I'm growing with this business, and it's really beautiful, and I'm so happy that I did it.
And so to that point, you've posted about intellectual creativity, meaning how a good product has to make sense, be unique, and have functionality. Otherwise, it's just vanity.
It's just vanity, yes.
And so how do you pressure test your ideas, your upcoming ideas with that theory?
I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I think me liking something is a really good litmus test. And I say that because I am someone that does not like a lot of things. I may look at something and be like, oh, that's cute, that's this, but in order for me to want to purchase it, I need a good story. I need a good meaning. I need it to have a conversation. So because I am such a consumer, I think that that is what makes me a good creator, because I'm able to put myself in the shoes of someone else and be like, you know what? Why would I buy this? And I think doing that has trained my mind to be way more present and think outside the box. And the pressure test is getting, I think I'm going to have to tweak it. This candle kind of showed me where I'm like, okay, DonYe, I think you've had your fun just doing whatever you want to do. Now it's time to research. Now it's time to see what's really selling, what consumers are really gearing into, what's the next frontier of home goods. Because Nike, they know what shoe they about to make in 4 or 5 years. And you can't have that level of strategic planning just off of vibes. So that's like the next era of my business and entrepreneurship journey that I'm stepping into, is doing more research, doing more data, and making sure that my taste stays sharp and so rooted in the future, so that when it comes to the marketing and the creative stuff, we're having fun. Because that's really what it is. It's like you work hard to have fun. You don't want to work hard to work more hard and not have any fun. Then it's like, why are you working hard? So that's what this next era looks like.
And so you talk a little bit about marketing. And so how do you market something, and you utilize the Got Milk advertisement in a way that was, that's something familiar and traditional, but it was original. And so how do you market something in a way that supports the vision instead of like underselling it or diluting it?
Mm-hmm. I think marketing is such a great asset and skill to have for any creative. Like, even if you say, oh, I'm not a marketer, you should be, because marketing encompasses so many different things. It's storytelling, it's connecting, it is also educating as well. I think a good marketing campaign, it takes you back, but it also makes you look at things in a new way and you learn something new. So I think with this Got Milk campaign, I love nostalgia. And I say all the time that creatives are the new athletes. They're the new athletes. And I remember Got Milk, they did a lot of advertising with different athletes, saying that milk builds strong bones and you need strong bones in order to play at your highest level. With me, I looked at it as like, okay, matcha is kind of like the milk for creatives. Like, it's the fuel, it's the energy that we need to get our ideas to the finish line. And me landing on that story informed the creatives that I wanted to be a part of the campaign. So I think marketing is something that will always just be really true to my heart. And I think, now that I'm not doing marketing for other people, I gotta put that skill somewhere. So I'm really getting to a place where I have fun with the marketing that I'm doing for Nuclei. And I think that people can sense it too. Like, a lot of brands, they don't get likes and comments on their posts. There's brands out there that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, but they do not have the engagement that Nuclei does. Because I think when people are following my my page and even Nuclei, they're sensing that there's a sense of joy and play and wonder, and I think that is what makes people want to engage with the products. And even just other than the fact that these products look good and they do what they're supposed to do, I think creatives like buying into the story of like, you know what, I can do this, or I can bring an idea that may be a little far-fetched on paper to life, because this is what this brand is about. So that's what I want my marketing campaigns and just the way that I show up online to really represent, and in the products that I'm making too.
And so you've got some more in the works. Can you share a preview, or is that all on lock?
You know, I'll give you a little sneak peek, because I feel like by the time this comes out, well, I don't know. Remember I said this chapter of my life is just vibe twin?
Right.
So it's a catch-all tray. This is my first product with real packaging. Like, I'm so happy that I feel like packaging is something that people, you don't realize how expensive packaging is. Let me just say that. Like, packaging is extremely expensive, and when you get that as a brand owner, it's like, wow, I've arrived at a place where I don't have to settle for the way that I want to present my things. But it's a catch-all tray, and it's in the shape of my logo. It's clear, and I'm calling it the etc. tray, because I want to kind of draw the line between multi-hyphenates and creatives, because we are catch-all trays. Like me, I'm an entrepreneur, creative director, marketer, etc., writer, content creator, woman, etc. It's like, no matter what it is that you do, there's a comma, another thing, a comma, and another thing, and then etc. And sometimes when you have all of these different things, you may not know how to hold them. And when things are all over the place, they can tend to get messy. And looking at clutter, it actually is detrimental to your mind. It signals to your brain that, hold on, this is not a safe environment. What is going on? It can spike your cortisol levels. So this etc. tray, I designed it to be like a catch-all tray for all the different knickknacks on your coffee table, maybe on your desk. Like today, I was on a call and I was talking about the etc. tray because I was talking about doing a launch party for it. And I was like, look, I got a lighter on my desk. I got a hair clips, earrings, and instead of just putting them in like a jar, I want to put them in something that looks really pretty. So that's why I made it. Again, like, I just like making things that I would actually use, but have a story and a function to it. So that's coming out maybe July. We'll see. But it's already done. I have all the inventory. It's just, I got to think about what the marketing campaign is going to be. How am I going to market it? So, yeah, that's my next product. And I have so much stuff in the works. Like, I want to get into beauty. Like, what would it look like if I made like a compact mirror? What would it look like if I made a lamp? Like, I want to make everything. I want to make everything that I already use, but make it cooler and more intellectual. So, yeah.
More on the way, so
More on the
stay
way,
tuned.
yes.
But it's clear that, you know, you cannot market or manufacture real hype, and we see that the intentionality and the thoughtfulness behind each and every one of your products and how it aligns with your values, your identity. So can you speak to how, in particular, your Blackness plays a role in how you approach your work?
Ooh. Wow. So I have this scale, because I don't want to have the brand that people buy from because it's Black owned. I want you to support me because you like what it is that I'm saying, you like how my products look, there's a genuine like there, and if you want to support me because I'm Black, let that be the cherry on top, but I don't want it to be the whole pie. And I think coming from an environment where, you know, everyone around me was Black, my Blackness was never really like a thing until I got around people that were not Black. So when I got to college and, you know, I went to a PWI, and people are making comments like, oh, I didn't know Black girls dress like that, or I didn't know Black girls talk like that, or I didn't know you would be into that, or you would like something like this. Then you become aware like, oh, shit, I am Black. And I try not to think from that perspective, because I think that can box me in. But I do understand that there is an unspoken responsibility of me and for other Black women where we have to show that we can be all of these different things and we don't have to fit in a certain box. I know people say that all the time, but it's because it's true. Like, we're saying this over and over until we're blue in the face because it's true. It's like, just because I am a Black woman, that does not mean that I can't dress a certain way or that I have to dress a certain way. I had made a video and I posted it, this was last year. I was saying, I'm a Black girl and I do not like macaroni and cheese. I actually hate macaroni and cheese. I would prefer sashimi at Thanksgiving or salmon. I don't like macaroni and cheese, but I'm supposed to because I'm a Black woman. And it's like, I just want us to just get rid of that. I think it's holding us back. And it's another reason why I made my Black Standard Time calendar. It's like, this is how I see Blackness. I see Blackness as cool, fun, smart, entertaining, full of joy, fly, all of these different things. That's not what people tell us that we have to be. So I try to incorporate that into my work as a way for other Black people that also share the same values as me to be like, you know what? I like what she's saying and I like what she's doing, and this is what we need to progress our people forward. So that's kind of how I deal with like my Blackness as a woman. But other times I don't realize that I'm Black until somebody points it out. It's just I am, you know? So yeah.
Well, you're living that purpose, and it's clear through the work that you create and also having your community gravitate towards you. I know that community is big for you.
Yes.
Not just having those followers and not just making impressions, but making a connection. So what is the real difference for you in cultivating that community over just followers online?
A community requires you to be active and requires you to be present. You cannot say that you are a part of a community if you are not doing anything for that community. So the way that I show up for my community is I try to make myself as accessible as possible. And sometimes the community work is not always visible. You know, it's so many girls that DM me and say, hey, DonYe, I'm doing a project for college and I want to interview you. Yes, I'll do it. I will sit and have a conversation with someone. I will do things for free because that is what community requires. And I can't say that I want community or say that I'm cultivating community if I am not active in my own community. So yes, I will respond to the DMs. Yes, if I see one of my followers or subscribers out and they say what's up, I will make extra time because I wouldn't be anywhere without my community. My community is the reason why I am the way that I am, and my community has validated me so much. They have made me feel like I am not crazy, that there is a place for my ideas, that I am valued, and that I am seen. So whenever I see someone else that is on their own journey or on their own path and they have enough confidence to go after what it is that they want to do, I have to support them because my community is a reflection of me. So that's how I view community, and I think that that's why my community feels safe being in my community because they are able to see themselves in me and vice versa.
It's definitely like your own world that you have created. And
100%.
you know, as a creative director, how are you able to translate your creative vision into a world that people can step into and not just consume?
It's hard sometimes. Like, I think with creative direction, I always start with what is it that I want people to feel from this? And with the matcha campaign, because that's what's the most current, I wanted creatives to feel like, you know what, I am powerful, and me liking matcha is like actual, like a superpower. Like, I think about how different athletes and different industries, they all have their own superpower. Like, you know, you can be a fitness junkie. Maybe your superpower is your creatine that you took that day. And I really wanted people and creatives to look at themselves as more like athletes and like, wow, I actually do need fuel in order for me to be able to do what it is that I want to do. So I always start with the story. Then I think about different people that are in my community that I can work with. I love working with my community. So Cassidy, she shot the campaign. She is a photographer, director. She's so multifaceted, and she actually came out to support a talk that I had in LA last summer, and I remember talking to her about how I wanted to work with her, and I actually told her about the matcha campaign. She was like, yeah, like, let's do it. So I think working with people that you also see and work that you respect, I think it makes the process that much more fun. And I think when it comes to creative directing, you know, your ideas, it's easy for them to come out into the world. What's hard is for them to come out in a way that you want them to come out. And I think creative direction has taught me the importance of planning and measuring twice, so you only have to cut once. And, you know, there's never too many photos on the mood board. There's never too many references. There's never too much preparation that you can do. And a lot of creative direction is getting to a place where you know how to articulate what it is that you want. A lot of us have so many ideas in our head and we know how we want things to look, but it's hard to get those out into the real world because we have trouble expressing ourselves, or we only know how to express ourselves through one medium. I like to express myself through clothes, through food, through beauty, through conversation, through words, all these different things. And all of those different skills makes me a really good creative director. And if there's anybody watching this that wants to be a better creative director, I would tell them to practice and dabble into different mediums and get okay with passing your ideas off to other people. A creative director is not in the shoot and behind the camera, and it's like it's all of these different people coming together so that you can focus on your vision and how you want it to look.
I love that. And so lastly, as we wrap up, I do want to say a quote from Rick Rubin. And he said, to unlock your potential, create for yourself to spark inner transformation, then share it to affect others. So where do you feel like you sit in that process right now, and what have you had to unlock in yourself to get to this very point right now in your career?
I'm at a weird place in my career because I have built a career based on being this like voice of reason, source of truth. And that can be a bit daunting sometimes mentally because when I need a voice of truth or when I need a voice of reason, I don't really have that many people to go to. And I don't really have the liberty and the privilege of being vulnerable sometimes because that kind of takes away from me being this voice of reason. It's like, how are we supposed to be doing what you telling us to do and you asking us what you should do? So it's like I'm having more periods of silence and non-visibility because there's things that I'm figuring out. Like I have to fail and I have to make mistakes and I have to live my life in order to give my audience and my followers and my subscribers something. I'm not one of those creatives that's looking at what somebody else is doing and talking about that. It's like everything that I make is based on a life that I have lived or experienced. So in order for me to do that, I need to live my life. So on this entrepreneurship journey, which is extremely new, it's extremely challenging, it's not comfortable at some times, it forces me to retreat and to take a step back and to sit with certain things. So I'm getting more comfortable with sitting with those things, and I'm realizing that there's no way that I can give my audience value if I am not falling. But I don't want to fall in public. I don't think Black women have the privilege of doing that, unfortunately. So I gotta make my mistakes and do my ugly stuff off camera, and once I do it and I learn, then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna give it to y'all. So that's the season that I'm in right now, and that's kind of what I'm balancing with of like what Rick Rubin said about you have to make things for yourself first. But the other layer beneath that is you got to live with yourself first. And sometimes that doesn't look like documenting your every move or doing a get ready with me every single day. Sometimes it looks like a week of nothing. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Hermit.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I feel you.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll be going through those phases as well. But I know, as you mentioned, this is just another season, another era of your ever-evolving story. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you continue to disrupt the industry with your
Thank
genius.
you.
I do appreciate you for pulling up. But I lastly love to end on one little segment that I give guests to put us on. So essentially just pushing forward, spreading love in telling us what you're into, putting us on to anything that you may be vibing with, that you feel is slept on, anything at all.
Okay, this is fun. I love stuff. I just love stuff. Okay, Supergoop tinted sunscreen saved my life. I've been battling with hyperpigmentation and skin dysmorphia. Like, I will have one little pimple, and I'm like, I don't want to see anybody for a whole day. Yeah. And my boyfriend was like, girl, what pimple? I didn't even see it. Supergoop, you have saved my life because you allow me to be okay with my hyperpigmentation and my non-perfect skin, and you're protecting it at the same time. So shout out Supergoop. Shy Space on YouTube, that channel that I was referencing. It's nothing like discovering new music that's good. That's good. And I think DJs is some of the best people that you can follow on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. So definitely check out Shy Space. I am loving this brand called Starfish Market. It's by this girl. She's from Chicago. Her name is Roz. She makes incredible pieces. I love all the small independent brands. I'm also going to shout out this app called Rove. It is basically like to know it, but for services instead of products. So if you are spending $1,200 on a treatment, like a facial treatment or whatever, you can say, you know what, this is the girl that I went to, this is the treatment that I got, and it allows creators to earn a commission off of their services and not just products. So that's what I'm loving right now. What else? What are you loving right now? I feel like that may inspire like 2 or 3 more that I have.
I will say, okay, I always put all of my close friends on. For my hair, aloe vera gel.
Okay.
Literally, like the bottle that you use for typical aloe vera on your skin from Target, it's like $9. I put that on my hair. That's a part of my routine. So there you have it.
Okay.
I just dropped one of my biggest secrets, y'all.
I'm going to listen to her because her hair is long and luscious and curly and beautiful. Okay. My last thing, flamingo wax strips for the underarms. Not down there, but
Yeah.
up here. I had this video. I posted a video on TikTok. I'm going to send it to you. But randomly, I checked it. I was like, where are all these likes and views and followers coming from? I posted a video of me waxing my underarms, and it got 2.1 million views.
No way.
Yes, I was waxing my underarms right before I went out for Valentine's Day. I was fully dressed on, makeup, hair done, everything. And I went to go do something in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, my God. And I just ripped it off, but I love it. I love those wax strips. They're so good. They're so good. So, yeah, that's what I'm loving right now. Also, Emma Gree's book. I love her book. I'm reading it right now. It's so good. It's rewiring my brain. And, yeah, that's it for me.
You put us on to all the good stuff.
Yes.
So thank you again, DonYe, for joining me, for sharing all your insights. For everyone watching, thank you so much for the love, the support, comments, shares, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye.